Good morning, Commissioner Swanson.
Good morning, Janelle.
Thank you. Can hear you well. Thank you.
Good.
Good morning, Commissioner Bookland.
Good morning, Janelle. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning. Good morning, Janelle. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. Can hear you well.
Great.
Good morning, Commissioner Havel. Commissioner Havel, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Sorry, I didn't have my earphones in.
Oh, no problem. We hear you loud and clear. Thank
Okay.
you. Good morning, Commissioner Murphy.
Good morning, Janelle.
Thank you very much. Good morning, and good morning, Commissioner Wilson.
I'm here. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioner Eskridge.
Good morning, Janelle.
Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. By my count, we have a quorum of 6. So we'll call the meeting to order. And let's see. Welcome guests. Anybody out there? I see somebody's on the phone. I don't know who that is. I see a phone number down at the bottom. And let's see, virtual meeting guidance, Janelle?
Certainly. Good morning, commissioners, members of the public and staff. To help us have a smooth meeting, I'm going to review just a couple of decorum rules for everyone. Number 1, please ensure your mic is muted unless you're speaking. Number 2, please state your name before speaking. Number 3, in general, please have your cameras on if possible. If you are speaking, you may turn your cameras off if you're experiencing technological challenges. And this includes staff. Please make sure you have your cameras on when introducing your topics. Number 4, as a reminder, the public chat has been disabled, but you can still send messages to the host if need be. And also, just as a reminder, this meeting is being recorded and streamed live on YouTube. That's all the rules I have, so let's have a great meeting.
Okay, thank you, Janelle. That'll take us to announcements. Michael, do you have any announcements?
I do not have any announcements today,
Okay,
President Hubble.
that takes us to one item, 1E and 1F. First, we have a welcome for Luis Valdez-Jasso from maintenance worker by Brady Lessner, and then we'll have Ben Velo, collection systems worker by Ray Schneider. Brady?
Good morning, commissioners. I'm Brady Lessner, the facilities maintenance supervisor, and it is my pleasure to introduce the newest member of facilities maintenance, Luis Valdez-Jasso. He joined the district as a utility worker on September 8th of 2020. Luis was accepted to and graduated from Exploration Academy High School, which is a charter school within the Verona school system. During his time in the Explorer Academy, Luis completed a 5-month construction program working with Stevens Constructions and Dave Jones Plumbing, and he became certified in OSHA 10 course as well as a street flagger. In his final year, he had the responsibility of being the IT manager, overseeing the care of 5,500 iPads, among other duties. Some of Luis's practical work experience includes barns, where he learned landscaping and snow removal. His most recent job was being the sole maintenance technician at Pinnacle Health and Fitness. There he was responsible for operating and maintaining 4 saltwater pools, upkeep of the sauna, and all exercise equipment. Luis is a real self-starter and enjoys learning new things. On his own, he has taught himself MIG welding and is in the process of completing an online master certificate in small engine repair. His easygoing demeanor, motivation to get things done, and inviting personality make Luis a fantastic addition to facilities maintenance and the district. We're very happy to have him on our team. Please help me in welcoming Luis to the district.
Excuse me. Welcome, Luis. Hope you enjoy working here. It sounds like you got quite a breadth of experience. Okay, Ray Schneider. Can you introduce Ben?
Good morning, commissioners. This is Ray Schneider. I'm the collection systems supervisor. I would like to introduce Ben Velo. Ben graduated from Waterloo High School in 2015. And after high school, he attended Stevens Point College, majored in business administration, graduated in 2019, then went to work for Galette's Construction in Johnson Creek, installing storm sewers. In September of 2020, Ben started at the district in the collection systems services department, working in the user charge department, setting up samplers, collecting samples, taking to the lab, entering all collection data, sewer maintenance, manhole inspections, manhole repairs. He is now being trained to assist in our locating department to locate our underground sewer lines. Ben's hobbies are fishing and hunting. Ben is a very hard worker, super great attitude. We are very happy to have him as a part of our team. Please help me to welcome Ben to the district.
Okay, welcome, Ben. Man with a bachelor's degree. Okay, something just happened here. Just a minute. Okay, thank you. That takes us to appearances by the public. Does anybody from the public wish to appear? Okay, don't see anyone. Then that takes us to the consent calendar where we have the minutes from the last meeting. We have approval of sewer extensions, 2 new ones, and 4 reconstruction projects, including getting rid of a lift station in Monona. And then the Metropolitan hauling contracts. So do we have any questions before we get a motion? Okay, no questions. Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
It's Wilson. I'll move approval of the consent calendar items as presented.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Wilson, second by,
I'll second it, Murphy.
okay, second by Commissioner Murphy to approve the consent calendar. Motion by Commissioner Wilson, second by Commissioner Murphy. All those in favor say aye.
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 And any opposed? Nope. Okay, motion carries. That takes us to the Chief Engineer and Director's Report, the CED update. Michael?
Thank you, President Hubble. Reports are coming up early in this meeting to make way for your discussion after this. And I'm going to share my screen with you. And hang on. Okay, commissioners. The West Interceptor Shorewood Relief Project, you may recall in January awarding a construction contract for phase 1 of this project, which is going to start construction this spring, and it's starting from the Indian Hills Park, which is just west of this slide, and then terminates pretty close to this red line right here at about Shorewood Boulevard. As that project moves into construction, we are already planning for the second phase of this project, which has project limits as shown here between Shorewood Drive and continues east to University Bay Drive near the hospital. This project is going to be a little bit different than the first phase because we've timed this phase in conjunction with a project that's being performed by the City of Madison and Shorewood in the village of Shorewood Hills. In this same corridor, this very compressed corridor, they're going to be making some significant road improvements, and the City of Madison is going to be installing a 96-inch diameter storm sewer project. So there's going to be a lot of work packed into a small section. And here's a better view of it. And the green line is our project, and the cities and villages project, you can see, extends beyond that. When we were looking at how to bid this project, we start looking at how do we coordinate, how can we best coordinate with the city. This project actually is going to be bid by the Department of Transportation because there are federal funds. So you have several interest and partners involved. You have the DOT, you have the city, you have the village, and you have the district, all trying to do work at the same time. So in these types of situations, and Commission, you know, we've had this situation many times, we have to make some decisions on how do we bid these projects out. Do we go it alone as a district and do our own contract, or do we include our work as part of a one project? And so we look at these at the staff level, each project on their own merits, because there are different risks associated with all of these projects, and of course different opportunities. What makes this project, I think, warrants special consideration for us, and it really got our attention, is the compressed corridor nature of this project, and the amount of flow of traffic that goes through it. And with the University Hospital Children's area and the emergency access, which is on University Bay Drive, having and coordinating good access for emergency vehicles is going to be critical. And so when we have a situation like this, when there are risks in a compressed corridor, we use, you know, the sustainable action map to help us take a more holistic view of how do we make the decision on whether to go it alone, or do we include ourselves in a joint bid opportunity. And just to remind you of what a sustainable action map looks like, we look at what are the environmental benefits and weaknesses, what are the social, or what are the impacts on people, individuals, and on community in terms of overall effectiveness. And then of course the economy, and how does this impact the district's bottom line. And we actually look broader than that. We look at how is this project, as a government project, how is this going to help us all, and look at effectiveness. When we evaluated the cost of, or the opportunities and risks of going it alone versus combined, we decided we're going to include our project as part of the overall DOT bid, and for a couple of key reasons here. From just a pure environmental standpoint, with less mobilization, we know that there will be less fuel and other things used, and the environmental permitting will be more streamlined and more effective if we're all part of one project. From an individual standpoint, coordination is going to be very tricky on this project, and having all of the work, the city's large stormwater project, the pavement work, and the district's sewer work coordinated under one contract will assure the public has the best access and traffic control possible to the hospital. And of course, there would be better worker safety because of less conflict between different contractors. We really feel like the better coordination is going to be really important here, because it will minimize, at least from a risk standpoint to the district, any disputes over delays, any potential litigation that could occur when we bring in a separate contractor under a different contract. And by having it under one contract, we assure that would be minimized. But then, of course, when we get to what about costs? And I think we believe that overall project costs will be lower under one bid. And because it's one large project. One really important factor that really swayed us to go with a joint bid is, you may recall the project where we had some concerns a couple of years ago, where the bid prices came in and the district's costs doubled. The district was only a small percentage of that major project at that time, that about 2%, where here we're a substantial part of the work, about 10% of the project. And so we feel that there's less risk to us of having increased costs. And we may actually see lower costs as a result of being part of a major project, or they could be lower. It's at this point we're speculating. There and in hindsight, it's always easier to look back and say, well, we should have done this. But we feel that it's in the district's best interest to go with a joint project and be part of the bid. What this will mean for the commission is you will not be awarding a project for the MMSD portion of this project. We will have to live with the bids as they come in and the low bid that is awarded to the overall project. So I wanted to share that with you in advance. And if you have major concerns or comments for me at this time regarding that decision, I'd be more than happy to hear those and before we move forward.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Michael?
Wilson does, of course.
Go ahead, Tom.
So Michael, when we did, I think the project you were referring to that we were part of, like a DOT project bid, was
The Morse Pond Extension Project.
Yeah.
that's the one you were talking about. Okay.
Right.
Well, that's not the one I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of one a couple of years ago. The city of Madison was
Regent
doing
Street.
a project at
Regent Street.
PD and M and Raymond Road.
Oh, yes.
And we had some sewer work there too. Were we part of the DOT project bid at that time, or was that done separately? Do you remember?
I don't recall.
But there were, if I remember, our proposals were a little bit, our bids were a little bit higher on that project. It was complicated because of, everything that was being done. But as I recall, and I know Bruce is on the line, maybe he'd remember, we were fine. Our work was completed and it was acceptable and we moved on. Is that right?
I don't recall the specifics of that, but I could follow up with you on that
No,
particular
I
one.
guess the reason I'm bringing it up is because, if I remember right, I thought that we were part of that project bid. It was a little bit higher, but our work was done, and it was done okay. I mean, we accepted it. There was no problem. The city, on the other hand, is still working that out with the contractor because there were some issues with storm sewer and things like that. And so even if we go together on this, it doesn't mean that if one part of it gets messed up in some way that ours would. So I think that probably makes a lot of sense the way you're planning on handling it. And I just stay on it. It's going to be a complicated area there, isn't it? Working with everything that's intertwined and all the utilities that are involved there. It's going to be, and the railroad. Not that they'll cause any issues, but thanks for the report. And it sounds like you're going the right way for me. I was just trying to compare it in my mind with that other one.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Michael, I had a question. You mentioned the 96-inch storm sewer. Are there any other underground utilities like water or local sanitary lines?
That might be. I know Greg Freeze is on the call, and Greg, what other public works improvements do you have in that corridor? If I can put you on the spot.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, there will be water main, sanitary sewer. This is a complete reconstruct. So this will take all those utilities. The storm sewer is by far the biggest and most non-conventional part of this. In that, if you kind of drive that in your head, commissioners, there's that big hill at Bagels Forever, right? And the storm sewer is going to go through that. We've done multiple borings through there, and it is. It's right at that really messy interface between soil and rock. So it fits poorly for a lot of opportunities. So we're not sure which way the contractor is going to go with this, whether they're going to try and tunnel it or if they're going to try and open cut it. At open cutting, it's a depth of about 26 feet, which would mean probably terracing yourself in. But order is very important here in regard to, you know, the district's decision here. Trying to do this as two contractors would be extremely difficult, especially if our contractor, the DOT contractor, does decide to open cut that storm sewer in. So, does that answer the question?
Yes, it does. My my point was, the more we're an underground utility, so the more, like Michael says, our share is 10% of the project. In a sense, underground utilities are a much higher percent of the project because there's so many of them, and they kind of all wrap up in probably a same type of contractor that would do the work. You know, even if you have a general that's the paving guy, and then the sub is the underground or something.
Yeah, there's almost, you know, in this case, there's almost two sets of storm sewer, right? There's this big regional storm sewer that is super deep. And then on top of that, you know, at normal depth, there will be all the normal storm sewer. It's almost a secondary system that will be connected back into the big system down at the bottom of the hill. So yeah, the utilities in general, storm specifically, is a much bigger part of this project than the County M project.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Okay, anything else for Michael? I don't see any hands raised. Okay, anything else,
Thank you.
Michael?
Nope.
Okay, that takes us to the regulatory and legal review. Paul?
Yes, good morning, commissioners. I want to highlight in this meeting some of our legal work and also update you on a couple of items from a regulatory side. Last month into this month, there have been a lot of contract issues, some associated with the University Avenue project, but there's also been an RFP on the Lagoon project. There has been an opinion on title for several Clean Water Fund projects that are ongoing. We've had some issues regarding a solids pit contract and questions on lease termination. There were some questions on the website and marketing design contract. And then, as I mentioned last time, we're going to be looking at trying to develop some standardized forms to streamline things in the future. And that process is just starting at this point. On the regulatory side, as you know, there was PFAS sampling and there were some issues associated with that. I was on a conference call earlier this week, and the department still doesn't have a deadline for when the results will be back, but there are about 70 some facilities throughout the state that have also been sampled. So once those results are out, it will be interesting to kind of see, you know, where we are relative to others. One other item, and I think Michael may be talking about this later, as you know, we have our disinfection matter that's still pending with the department. We've not heard back from them, but hope to shortly. Something that just happened this week that frankly was a bit of a surprise, at least on my end, was the department has come out with a draft guidance on disinfection policy, which is pretty comprehensive and basically takes a position that if there is any recreational activity occurring on any part of the stream, that the disinfection season must be extended for that period of time. How that will impact our current arrangement or proposal with the department is something we have to talk about. But in any event, we'll be following that because that could have impacts on, you know, other things in the future. And then there is an HR matter that's pending that we're working on and are in the midst of preparing for. So, and one other thing, the first PFAS advisory committee met earlier this week, and nothing particularly momentous other than just kind of a kickoff meeting with a Zoom call with 150 other people participating. So that was quite the event, but nothing of substance out of that first meeting. So that's all I have, unless there's questions from anyone.
Okay, anybody have any questions? So, Paul, I have one on the, oh, Ezra, you have one?
Yeah, is my audio okay?
Yep.
I just thought I'd ask Paul and or Michael. I guess first, would you remind us under the permit as currently written, when is it that we were supposed to start disinfection? And then if we don't arrange for something different, can we make it? Can we get there? I know we were replacing UV equipment and all, right? So I'm just wondering about that in case that's the path we have to follow if things don't shake out in time.
Yes, so that under our permit, there's a delayed implementation date, which I believe is in 22 or 23. I can't remember exactly which. So if the permit continues as currently written, the extended disinfection period would take effect at that point. And essentially the disinfection period would be extended to cover all but the 3 winter months of December, January, and February.
That helps a lot. Thanks, Paul. So it doesn't it doesn't take effect this year if we stay under the letter of the permit as it was written when it was issued.
Correct. It was designed to kind of coincide with our UV upgrade.
Great. Thanks for that.
Okay, so Paul, I had a question on the same kind of thing. With the way you're talking about any recreational activity, so is that anything from our outfall out downstream? And then would ice skating, for example, count as a recreational activity? So, I mean, somebody could, who determines if there's a recreational activity occurring in a certain month?
Well, those are all good questions. My recollection from having just read this yesterday, it was released on the 22nd, is that there is a presumption for so many miles downstream of an outfall, and I believe it was like 3 to 5 miles downstream. And the guidance as currently written would say that essentially any recreational activity that would have the potential for either regular or accidental contact with the water would be covered. So it's exceptionally broad in my opinion, and certainly something worth commenting on, both from a substantive and a procedural standpoint, given the fact that the bacteria rules were just subject to a rulemaking process where this issue came up and was taken out of the formal rule. And now we're seeing it being done as guidance. So there's some both procedural and substantive issues that I think need to be sorted out.
So do you think that's the DNR's way of getting back to us?
I don't think it's driven by the district. I honestly don't. There are issues that have come up in other places around the state, some of which have arisen from completely different scenarios. There are a couple of areas where there was a limited aquatic life or limited forage fish designation where department staff had said, no, you can't impose recreational standards, and that technically was a mistake. So part of this is designed to deal with that set of circumstances, which of course is completely different. But the implications of it, at least from my initial read, appear to be far broader, and we'll just have to sort out how that will impact us and how to best address that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? I don't see any hands up. Okay, that takes us to the operations report. Eric?
Good morning, everybody. Can I get a thumbs up that you can see my screen? All right, great. Eric Dundee, Director of Wastewater Operations and Reliability, going to give the operations report in place of Alan today. He is being lucky and out in Colorado skiing, so congratulations to him getting some time off. To get into January's plant performance, everything looks pretty good through here. One thing I'll be getting into a little later is our ammonia numbers here. They look real good here, but I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a quiz or the did you know on the ammonia numbers in the future here. But Other things to note is our CBOD is up out of our normal window. Basically, cold weather creates a situation where our bugs need to work harder at the colder weather. So it's up slightly, but as you can see, it's way below our limit. And then you can also see our chloride numbers are above our normal window. So this is something that we watch very closely in the winter because of salting and infiltration and inflow that gets into our system from roadways. So just remember, this is January. So as we're getting this temperatures now of the warm up and having a couple feet of snow on the ground, we are going to be watching these numbers pretty closely here in the next couple weeks as snow melts and some of that residue washes off the roadways and into the storm sewer and possibly into the sanitary system into ours. So is there any questions on this slide? If not, we'll move on to the next. January numbers for resource recovery are absolutely in line. Everything is basically where you can just times by 12 and it reaches our final numbers. One note here is that our Metro mix, we're still going to be showing our December 2020 numbers there. We have not and do not intend to start up our centrifuge at any point right now to start making Metro mix. This is something that we watch as the year progresses. But in this case, if you remember a couple months ago, we talked about how our storage tanks, we went from a situation of being at dire need, I'll call it, for space in January and February of 2020 to at the end of hauling season for MetroGrow this year, they were doing it basically as needed. So they would actually discontinue work for a couple days doing field applications, waiting for enough material to take out to fields. So by the job MetroGrow did, you know, we don't have a situation where we'd be even attempting to make the Metro mix at this point. And since I have you, just wanted to give you a few updates for the operations and maintenance department. In the winter months here, we've been concentrating on one, just trying to stay warm. But two, one thing that's really happened here is we just completed for operations and maintenance a reliability centered maintenance, RCM. You guys have heard about that. We just completed a 3-day training, virtual training, which worked out very well on planning and scheduling. So as a department, we are always trying to strive to be better and more efficient at planning our work and scheduling our work. We always have backlog of many thousands of hours. So the better we can be at being more efficient and having the parts here available, the better for everybody and the less risk for the district. And I just wanted to say to the commission that that 3 days of training has and will continue conversations for our department that I see for the future. You know, we're going to be looking to do more improvements on our system and how effective we are as a constant improvement. So it was just a very, very good training that I wanted to highlight that our supervisors and our planners here in operations and maintenance went through. Next thing to talk about, which leads into kind of Commissioner Meyer's comment before, the liquid processing project, the UV system is actually getting ready to be turned on. The new system for, that is for contractor testing. That's not necessarily for us to use for permitting and regulation, but they are beginning that, well, now this week and in the next coming weeks, doing the turning it on, testing it, training the staff on that. So with that, I do want to get into one thing. So Amanda Wegner here took a great picture of the plant, if you see it on the screen, of how cold it's been. And if depending on what weather channel or records you look at, we had either 30 or 35 days of below freezing. So my did you know for the commission today is, what does a 10%, or I'm sorry, 10 degrees Celsius change in water temperature represent for the district? So when I say water temperature, I mean the water that's coming into the plant if it changes 10 degrees Celsius or 50 degrees Fahrenheit, so that looks like a big number there, what does that represent? If there's any chemistry majors, you might get this. Or if you listen to my first slide about ammonia, a little test. But I'll go into it. It is called Q10 change. So it's 50% change in efficiency of nitrification, or for us, ammonia of our microorganisms. So one thing I always come back to is that, you know, we use bugs, we use microorganisms to treat our wastewater. And when the temperature changes and any kind of environmental change happens, that affects them. So in this case of a long-term cold spell, we started to get pretty close to one of our low temperatures for water temperature. And that creates a situation where our operators change our something called RAS, or return activated sludge. We actually try to keep more bugs in the system because those bugs aren't working at such a high level. The higher the temperature, the more they can do work. So I just thought that was something that would be interesting for the group. And then I did pull up, with some help of our regulatory engineer, a 5-year history. So if you see, our low temperature was actually in March of 2019. This is actually an interesting point. Normally people would think, well, March 15th, we should be getting warmer. What happened here, and why we're very interested this week and next week, is very warm spell that created a large melt of snow. And that cold temperature water got into the system and drastically lowered our water temperature. So that is something we're keeping an eye on. And then you can see how high it can get. So we're talking about a pretty big jump in August of 2016 of how high it was. So right now, just to give you a snapshot in time, as of Monday, the current temperature was about 11 and a half C. So over the next week, we'll be watching that a little closer, and our operators will be adjusting the plant and the flows in our bugs, our microorganisms, to keep ourselves well under the ammonia limit. But it's just something we deal with on a daily and weekly basis. And with that, if there's any questions on the report, I'll take those. Otherwise, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Anybody have any questions? Ezra?
Nope, no question. Just giving Eric a thumbs up for the good report.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Eric.
Sorry. Yep.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, Eric. Okay, that takes us to the future meeting schedule, which is in the with the packet, I believe. And then we have to convene in the closed session in accordance with 19851C of the Wisconsin statutes to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the government body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. And this is regarding the chief engineer director, and Sarah will be doing the lead. So do we have a motion to go into closed session?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner Meyer. Do we have a second?
Commissioner
Wilson will
Ostrich, I'll second.
Or we'll let Sarah do it.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner, the host invited, okay, just, motion by Commissioner Meyer, second by Commissioner Eskridge. We need a roll call vote. Janelle?
Yes. Commissioner Bookland?
Aye.
I'm just going to read the people, even if they are not here. I'm not sure if they slipped in. So Commissioner Clark? Commissioner Eskridge?
Aye.
Commissioner Foster? Commissioner Hobble?
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer?
Aye.
Commissioner Murphy?
Aye.
Commissioner Swanson?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries. We'll go into closed session. I think everybody probably has a host is inviting you to the breakout room.
Commissioner Hubble, just a quick question. I can attend if you think that there's some reason to, but if not, I will sign off at this time.
Paul, he might have already left. I don't think I appreciate the offer, but I don't think we need you to join us.
Okay, I didn't think so, but I just wanted to check in. And if for some reason something does come up, call me on my cell phone and I will be glad
Okay.
to try and rejoin.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
It worked.
That is so awesome to just come out of that break room right back into the meeting so that we can adjourn.
Yeah.
So it went nice and smooth for you all?
Yep.
Yeah, it worked the way it was supposed to, as long as you weren't listening in, by the way.
And Janelle, we had a motion by Commissioner Meyer, second by Commissioner Wilson to go back into open session, and it was unanimous vote, roll call.
Thank you very much for that. I'm glad to hear that the breakout session worked well. And no, we do not sit in there with you. We just admit you and leave.
Thank you. So I can do our quick report back out of closed session, Commissioner Hovell.
Yep, go ahead.
Just to report back in closed session, the commission accepted feedback from fellow commissioners on CED performance in 2020, as well as the district performance and our performance as a commission. And that'll be used as part of our performance evaluation process regarding 2020. No action today.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. And that will take us to item 6, which is future agenda topics. Anybody have anything? And item 7, other business allowed by law. And number 8, motion by Commissioner Wilson. Second by.
Yes, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Murphy to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 And
See y'all.
Yeah, any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. Everybody have a good day.
Everybody
Bye.
take
Bye.
care.
Thank you.
Bye. Enjoy spring.
Thanks,
Yeah.
everyone.
Okay. Lee.
Thank you all.